Hi, I'm Bob. Let's complete the computer exercises together for Chapter 6. Multiple regression analysis further issues. You can download the textbook datasets from the link below. Today, we will solve the first 7 exercises. In computer exercise number 1, we consider the simple regression model first. I expect beta 1 to be positive because the longer the distance between the house and the incinerator, the higher the housing price. We run the simple regression. We use the data only for the year 1981. We can do that using the if modifier. The estimate of the slope coefficient is 0.365. It suggests that if the distance from the house to the incinerator increases by 10%, the housing price will increase by 3.65%. In the second part, we add the other 6 variables to the model. We find that the estimate for the log distance is still positive, but it is no longer statistically significant at any reasonable level. The t-statistic is 0.96 and the p-value is 0.34. It implies that the presence of the incinerator does not depress housing prices after controlling for the characteristics of the house. The results from Part 1 and Part 2 do not conflict because the size of the house and the quality of the house are people's choices that reflect whether the house is in a good location. In the area far from an incinerator, the house tends to be new, large, and have more rooms. In Part 3, after adding the quadratic term of the log distance from the home to the interstate highway to the model, the estimate for the log distance between the house and the incinerator becomes statistically significant at the 1% level. It implies that the relationship between the house price and the distance to the interstate highway is complicated. It's not only nonlinear, which is captured by the logarithmic form, but it also has a turning point, which is captured by the quadratic form. If we do not consider it in the model, the estimates of the incinerator location variable and the interstate location variable are both insignificant. The functional form is critical in the model. By the way, the turning point for the distance to the interstate highway is about 6,000 feet or 1.1 miles. Before that point, the longer the distance to the interstate, the higher the housing price. After that point, the longer the distance, the lower the housing price. If we add the square of the log distance to the incinerator to the model, the estimates of the log distance variable and its square term become insignificant. It suggests that the distance to the incinerator is unlike the distance to the interstate highway. Its effect on the housing price has no turning point. The logarithmic term has already captured the nonlinear relationship, and a quadratic term is non-necessary. Let's do the second computer exercise. The estimated equation is as follows. The square of experience has a t-statistic of minus 6.16. The p-value is 0.000. It is statistically significant at the 1% level. For the third question, using calculus, we find the partial effect of experience on the log wage as a function of experience. Plug 5 into the function and we obtain the approximate return to the fifth year of experience, 3.4%. The fifth year of experience increases wages by around 3.4%, holding education fixed. Similarly, the 20th year of experience increases wages by about 1.2%. In the fourth part, we compute the turning point where the marginal effect equals 0. It is 28.7 years of experience. In the sample, 121 people have more than 28.7 years of experience. It accounts for 23% of all observations. Let's go to computer exercise number 3. We use calculus in the first part and obtain the result directly. The null hypothesis that the return to education does not depend on the level of experience is beta 3 equals 0. I am not sure about the direction of the possible effect of experience on the return to education, so the alternative hypothesis is that beta 3 does not equal 0. In part 3, we run the regression with the interaction term between education and experience. In Stata, we use a single hashtag between two variables to create an interaction term, and two hashtags to create the level terms and the interaction term. So we can type regress log wage education experience hashtag experience, or regress log wage education double hashtags experience. When using the hashtag, we put the prefix C dot in front of the continuous variable. The third way is to generate the interaction term first, and then run the regression. You can choose the method you like. All of them give the t-statistic for the interaction term as 2.09. The p-value is 0.036. We reject the null hypothesis at the 5% significance level against a two-sided alternative. For the fourth part, we rearrange the parameters to construct a new parameter, theta1. Theta1 measures the return to education when the experience equals 10 years. We generate a new variable x equal to education times experience minus 10 times education. Then we regress the log wage on education experience and the new variable x. The estimated coefficient on education is the theta1. From the result window, we can read the 95% confidence interval for theta1. The estimate of theta1 is 0.076. The 95% confidence interval is from 0.063 to 0.089. In Stata, we can obtain the same answer directly without rearranging the variables. After running the original regression, we use the margins command with the dy/dx and add options. We put the variable of which we want the marginal effect inside the parentheses after dy/dx, and we put the value of experience inside the parentheses after add. It gives the same marginal return to education at 10 years of experience. 1 more year of education is expected to increase wages by 7.6% at this point. A more precise number is 7.9%. Let's do computer exercise number 4. The estimated equation is as follows. The quadratic term is statistically significant at any conventional level. The t-statistic is minus 3.88 and the p-value is 0.000. The optimal school size is when the marginal effect equals 0. The calculus shows that the optimal point is at 4.65 or about 465 students. The school size has a positive effect on SAT scores with fewer than 465 students. The effect is diminishing and eventually becomes negative with more than around 465 students. With the school size and its square as the only explanatory variables, the model is subject to omitted variable bias. Without considering other relevant factors, such as the teacher-student ratio, the student's family background, and the student's characteristics, we cannot consistently estimate the school size effect on SAT scores. In addition, the sample is only for the students who have taken SAT, and therefore it is not a sample for the academic performance of all high school seniors. For the last part, we replace the SAT score with the log of SAT. The optimal size of school is 470 students. It's close to the estimate from Part 2. Let's find the answer to computer exercise number 5. The estimated equation is as follows. For the second question, we plug in the values and find the predicted value of log price 5.99. We can use equation 6.40 to calculate the predicted price. We can find the sigma square hat from the Stata result window, 0.034. So the predicted price is $407,458. We can also use equation 6.43 to compute the alpha 0 hat. It is the sample mean of the exponential residuals. Using equation 6.42, we obtain the predicted price of $407,122. The two results are very close to each other. For the third part, the R-squared and the adjusted R-squared are slightly higher in the level model, but I will still choose the log-log model because the logarithmic form mitigates the heteroscedasticity problem from the level form, and the log form is more normally distributed than the level form. Let's do exercise 6. The partial effect of expenditure by B on the vote for A is related to the expenditure by A. The partial effect of expenditure by A on the vote for herself is also a function of the expenditure by B. From the second equation, beta 4 should be negative. The marginal effect is diminishing as the rival spends more on the campaign. But in the first equation, beta 4 should be positive because the candidate's own spending will offset the negative effect of the rival's expenditure. The sign is not obvious. We regress the model. The interaction term is statistically insignificant at any reasonable level. In part 3, the sample mean of expenditure A is $310.611 or $310,611. We plug in the value of 300 and find the marginal effect of candidate B's spending on vote A at this point, minus 0.0337. For $100,000 spent by B, the estimated effect is minus 3.37. It implies that candidate A's vote drops by 3.37% if the rival spends another $100,000 on the campaign when A's spending is fixed at $300,000. It is a fairly large effect. In Stata, we could also run the regression using hashtags and then use the margins command to compute the same result. For the fourth part, fixed expenditure at 100,000, the marginal effect of A's expenditure on her own vote is 3.76%. Another 100,000 spending will increase her vote by 3.76%. It makes sense. In part 5, we replace the interaction with the share of A's expenditure. The share is a function of A and B's spending. It does not make sense to change the share while holding A and B's expenditures fixed. In part 6, the calculus shows that the partial effect of B's expenditure on A's vote is minus 0.16 at the point. It implies that if B joins the campaign and spends the first 100,000, it will reduce A's vote by 16%. Let's do computer exercise number 7. Taking the derivative from the model in example 6.3, we find the marginal effect of the prior college GPA on the standardized exam score as a function of the prior GPA and the attendance percentage. Plug in the evaluation values and we obtain the result 0.362. As the prior college GPA increases 1 point, the final exam score will increase by a 0.362 standard deviation at the evaluation point. In part 2, we rearrange the parameters and construct a new parameter, theta 2. We generate two new variables, x1 and x2. Then we run the new regression model and obtain the estimate for theta 2, which is identical to the result in part 1, 0.362. We can read the standard error of theta 2 hat, 0.078. The effect is statistically significant. For the last part, we generate a new variable x3 and then replace x2 with x3. We find that the estimated coefficient on the prior college GPA is unchanged. All the estimates are unchanged except for the intercept and the attendance rate. Thank you very much for doing the exercises with me. See you soon. Thank you for watching this video and subscribing to my YouTube channel. See you next time.